Hi, I'm Jane from Poppy Patchwork, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make the Panama Star quilt block. I've drawn the block out in my Quilt Block notebook, and I've written out all the measurements. In this book you will get lots of blank pages, and I find it really useful for calculating the size of my pieces for the block. The odd and even Quilt Block notebooks are available to buy from Amazon. Scan the QR code to visit Amazon. I've just released my new book, The Quilter's Quick Reference Guide, with your favourite cutting charts and step-by-step instructions. The cutting charts include half square triangles, quarter square triangles, split square triangles, flying geese, corner squares, economy squares, half rectangle triangles and cat's cradle. Plus step-by-step instructions for making and trimming your units. Buy your copy today. Scan this QR code or click the link in the description. Now let's get quilting. So we're going to start by making the corner square in the middle, and for this we need the big square in D and the small squares in B. So we will be cutting some more small squares in B out later when we finish the cat's cradle, but we're going to cut that when we know exactly the size we need. So we're going to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of these small squares. And now we're going to pin two of these squares right sides together on top of the larger square, so that the diagonal runs from the centre to the centre of the large square. And I'm going to place another one in the opposite corner, the diagonal running in the same direction from the centre point of this larger square. I'm going to take that to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew on top of the line, although I will sew just a little bit towards this side of the line, so that when this flips back over, it flips nicely. So I'm going to sew about a thread width away from the line. I'm now going to remove the pins and then cut along. I'm going to remove the pins, and now I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch away from the stitched line. And I'll do that on both sides. And now I'm going to press the seams. I'm going to set the seam and press towards the triangle piece. And now I'm going to pin the other squares in the other corners. Again, the diagonal running from the centre of the sides of the larger square, and they will cross over what we've just sewn on. So I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and sew just a smidge to the side of that line. I'm now going to remove the pins and then cut 1/4 inch away from the stitched line. And now we're going to press. So I'm going to set that to one side, and now we're going to move on to the cat's cradle. So for the cat's cradle we need the rectangular pieces in the cream floral, the squares in the background fabric, and the rectangular pieces in the purple. And we're going to sew the square and the small rectangle together along the short edge. So I'm going to take that over to the sewing machine and sew with a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to set those seams, and I'm going to press away from the square. So now I'm going to join these together, a bit like a 4 patch. So I'm going to take those back over to the sewing machine and sew with a 1/4 inch seam. So before I press these seams, I'm going to just snip. So I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to snip at the halfway point down towards the stitching. And the reason I'm going to do that is because when I press the seams, once again I want to be pressing away from the square, and so I need these 2 seams to be pressed in opposite directions. So by snipping, I'm allowing that to happen, but be careful not to snip through the stitching. So first of all I'm going to set the seam, and now I'm going to press away from the square on both sides. So we're going to draw 2 lines on the wrong side of this fabric, and the first thing we're going to do is line the 45-degree line on the ruler along this edge of the fabric here, and we want to cross over, draw the line across this seam here of the square. So with everything lined up, I'm now going to draw that line. And then I'm going to do it on the opposite side. So again, I'm going to line that 45-degree line up here, and we're crossing over these 2 seams of the square. And then we're going to place this right sides together with the other rectangle. And we're going to sew on top of this line. So when I flip this back, this should be what we see. So I'm going to pin that in place. And repeat with the other piece. So the 45° on the side here, crossing over the seams of this square. And turning it around and repeating. Again, laying it right sides together, and when I pull this bit back, that's what we expect to see. And I pull this back on this side, again, that is what we expect to see. So I'm going to pin it in place, and then when I take it over to the sewing machine, I'm going to sew on top of the drawn lines. So I'm going to remove the pins and before I cut it I just want to see if it's okay. So that's okay, and I'm happy with that point there, and I'm also happy with that one. Happy with that, and I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to cut, and I'm going to cut 1/4 inch away from the stitched line. I'm going to do that on both sides, and there is just a small sliver of fabric there that I don't want on the seam allowance. And now I'm going to set and press these seams. And I'm going to press them towards the large triangle. Now before we add the last triangle piece on, I'm going to trim these, and I like to use the Creative Grids Cat Cradle tool designed by Deb Heatherly. If you don't have one of these, if you right mouse click the link above, it will take you to my video on how to trim cat cradles. So now we're going to add the final triangle piece here, which will be in this purple fabric. And what I'm going to do first of all is measure what this square measures. So I'm going to turn it over to the wrong side. And I believe it's 2 inches square. Just check that on another one. Yeah, 2 inches square. So that means I'm going to cut out 4 pieces in the purple fabric that are 2-inch squares. So I've cut these 4 pieces, and now I'm going to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of each of these. And then I'm going to position it right sides together on top of this square so that the line runs in this direction, and I'm going to pin that in place. Now when I take it over to the sewing machine, I'm going to sew on top of the drawn line. I'm now going to remove the pins. And I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch away from that sewn line. And now I'm going to set and press the seams. So I'm setting the seam and flipping that triangle back to create the block or the unit. So that's a cat's cradle with a flipped corner. I made 4 of those, and we're going to set those to one side. And now we're ready to make the half rectangle triangles. So to make the half rectangle triangles, we need the rectangles in fabrics A and C. And we're going to start by drawing a diagonal line on the back of the lighter fabrics. I'm going to draw a line firstly from the top left to the bottom right. I'm going to do that on 2 of them. And then on the other 2, I'm going to draw the line in the opposite direction from the top right to the bottom left. And now I'm going to pin these right sides together, and they will be pinned slightly differently. So these are going corner to corner, and I'm going to pop a pin in these. And then the ones drawn in the opposite direction, these get pinned to the opposite corners. So we've got 2 that look like this and 2 that look like that. Now when we take them over to the sewing machine, I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch line on both sides of that drawn line. I'm now going to remove the pins and then cut along the drawn line. So I'm now going to set the seams and press the seams open. So now I'm going to trim these half rectangle triangles. I'm just going to get my rotating cutting mat for this. And I've already marked my ruler with the width and length of the unfinished size that I need, and I've marked the reference points on the ruler also. And you'll find the reference points and the unfinished size measurements in the PDF instructions that are available to you if you have subscribed to the channel, or at least subscribed to my subscription service. So what we're going to do is lay the half rectangle triangle underneath the ruler. We're going to line the reference points up on the diagonal line, and then we're going to make sure that when we cut there's fabric underneath the unfinished size. Now I'm going to line up the unfinished size along the bottom and left edges and the reference points along the diagonal line, and then cut again. So I'm going to do that for the 4 half rectangle triangles that look like this. And for the ones that look the other way, the opposite ones, I'm going to flip the ruler over, and now I can line the reference points up on the diagonal going in the opposite direction. And I'm just going to twist the board around, so I'm totally happy with that. And now I'm going to trim. So again, lining everything up again, and I can do my trim. And now we're going to join these together in pairs. So I want to make sure that these seams align. I'm just going to push my pin through the seam at about 1/4 of an inch down from the top. And then push it through the other side. Those should be lined up now. And then I'll sew 1/4 inch seam along this long edge. I'm going to take those over to the sewing machine and sew with a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm now going to set and press these seams open. And now we're ready for block layout. So I've laid these out in block order, and now I'm going to sew together in pairs along the top and then sew these onto the columns. Now on this one we've got points to match here. So if you want to right mouse click the link above, it will take you to my video on how to sew perfect points. So I'm going to take those to the sewing machine and sew with the 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to set and press these seams open. So I've returned it to block layout, and now I'm going to pin these bottom pieces onto the columns. So I'm going to take those over to the sewing machine and sew with a 1/4 inch seam. And again I'm going to press those seams open. So I've placed these back into block layout, and now I'm going to sew this column to this column and this column to this column. I'm going to take them to the sewing machine and sew with a 1/4 inch seam. So I've sewn those 2 seams and I've given the block a good press. So congratulations, you have made the Panama Star quilt block. I hope you've enjoyed these videos, and thank you very much for all your support by downloading my patterns and buying my books. Bye for now, and happy quilting!